Hey adventurers, so today is going to be a book review for Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 of Mistborn Era 2, or book 5 of the Mistborn saga. And yeah, so by now you should have seen my review for The Alloy of Law, which is the first book in Mistborn Era 2. And so you kind of know the setting already, that it's a high fantasy, but it's also like a Western fantasy with a little bit of like steampunk and Industrial Revolution type stuff going on as the setting. So book 2 of Mistborn Era 2, and this I believe is the second read of Shadows of Self, so my first reread, and I think I appreciated it a lot more this time around, though I enjoyed it the first time as well. Definitely enjoyed it the first time, but I was able to, especially after watching some other people's reviews and hearing some other people's thoughts and growing in my understanding of the Cosmere as a whole, I was able to appreciate what this book did a lot more than I had in the first time that I read it. Shadows of Self really starts to dive into the characters of Wax and Wayne, and the way this story gets into the psyche of Wax is very interesting, while at the same time furthering the world building and telling a great but sad story. So I can't get into too much because of spoilers, but for the sake of understanding, we really get to dive into who Wax is and what makes him think the way he thinks, and especially at this time in his life, the events of his past that have transpired, the things that have happened that cause him to think in this way and to be the person that he is, and how that affects and how his past comes back to haunt him, basically. It's very interesting and very, very well done. We also get to know more about Wayne, quite a bit more about Wayne, really, and then Marassi and Steris as well both play an important role and start to get developed and fleshed out. Steris not so much in this one, but a little bit. The other characters also start to get fleshed out a bit more, like I just mentioned, and the seeds of a pretty epic storyline really begin to present themselves. As always, Sanderson manages to tell a hard-hitting story in a very easy-to-read way. So there's this story that has a lot of depth to it, a lot of complexity to it, a lot of emotional resonance to it, but it's very easy to read and you're able to get immersed in it super quickly, super easily, and it's just a fun book to read. It's enjoyable to read his writing because it's just so easy and so easy to get immersed in. The book really starts to look at the politics of this new era as well, where the Alloy of Law was just introducing us to this new phase of this world. Shadows of Self starts showing us just how different as well as similar things are to the time of Era 1. So there's a lot. The world has advanced. It's 300 years into the future from Mistborn Era 1. And so the things are happening differently. There's technology is rapidly changing, growth, science, making tons of leaps and bounds in knowledge and understanding of scientific things happening in this timeline. And so you're seeing all the differences with all that, but you're also seeing how similar the world still is and how similar people still are to the people of Mistborn Era 1. And that's very cool to me because it's very true. Times pass, but people don't tend to change that much. And that's very cool. And the way that it was incorporated into this is very well done. Definitely one of the most interesting parts of this book is the expansion of the magic and how it can be utilized. We get a good start of it in Alloy of Law, but we look at a different aspect of that in Shadows. So Alloy specifically deals with a furthering of Feruchemy and Allomancy and how combining them changes things, whereas Shadows of Self starts to look at Hymnology quite a bit more. While I like a lot of what Sanderson does in Alloy, and I definitely enjoy that one, my enjoyment of book 2 might be higher as of this second reread. And I mean, I love the fantasy westernness of Alloy of Law and how much it just feels like a Western novel, but Shadows has some of that as well, so it maintains some of that Western feel to it. But it also goes further and incorporates a political aspect into it, as well as lays the groundwork for the greater overarching storyline of Era 2, and it does it a lot more than Alloy of Law did. This review isn't really meant to be a comparison between the two books, but I wrote the two reviews on the same day, so that's kind of how it ended up writing itself to be. But there is so much different about Shadows of Self, just in the way that it's presenting the story, and the way that the fantasy Western, the Western culture is kind of dying out and we're moving into this industrial culture. And that's a very cool point in the timeline to be seated at, because we can see this is what it used to look like and now we're moving into a more modern era, and that's really fun for me. So that is my review for Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you guys for watching Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and we have our social media is linked in the description down below. Thanks for watching. Stay warm.